Oh yes. Okay. I can see the little live is right there.
And if we going live, what is this happening? That's always like the thing when you're getting
Are we
into these
here?
lives. Now. We
Listen, Marcus and I are always live. Like that's kind of our problem. We're like, just you need to tell us when not to run on a stage or to a microphone.
That is right. Love. What's happening, Liv?
Hi, friend. Listen, for everyone who doesn't know, this is Markus Lloyd, which I don't know why you would be here if you don't know that, but we'll get to him later. Let's get to the real eye candy, which would be me. And everyone's like, that's not at all what I said.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, what are we?
I love
Does she see something else? You guys, hi, my name is Liv Harrison, and I have been blessed to know Markus Lloyd for 200 years. It feels that way.
You say it's two. It's 197. I keep telling you. You keep trying to go deeper. But I'll take it. We'll round it out.
We met in high school, and I just want to make it longer. I just feel like maybe everyone who meets Markus, or maybe it's me. When people meet me, they're like, God, that's been a long time. And I'm like, Mom, it's been 10 minutes that you've known me. But Markus, I've known since high school, and we were friends. And now I am a podcaster. I have a radio show. I have a morning show. I do late night. I'm a speaker and MC. And so I just bully myself into Marcus's life. And I'm like, listen, I don't get to talk to you all the time. Let's do it publicly. And
that is our catch-up time. It's like, man, I hadn't talked to you in a while. How about we get live on camera and try to catch up in front of, whoever wants to watch. Yes.
Let's record this, or it doesn't count. So we are online friends, and it's a reverse. We didn't meet via social media. It's just where we hang. So
let's be clear, right? Because we have now vacations. Our family has vacations together. So we are past the online friendship. We're the typical. We met online, and now we're meeting in other places, which is the opposite of what
really
you're supposed
weird.
to do. No, yeah.
My favorite thing. So listen, everybody, we just went to Kauai together. My husband and I got a house in Kauai, and we were inviting people. And I was talking to Markus for a different reason, and I said, "Do you want to come?" And literally have not seen this man in years. And here's the best part. He said yes. And he did come, him and his gorgeous wife. So now we're like ridiculous friends. But and this is what goes to show kind of what we're going to be talking about, Markus.
Sure.
Like it kind of shows like your past is just as important as your present, which absolutely feeds into your future, And so what's really great is that while we were in Kauai, in a hot tub, which I just want this to sound as awkward as possible.
You just keep it going. Like, I don't think it can get more, it could get more awkward. And knowing you probably will.
That's what I'm saying. And whiskey. And we weren't smoking whiskey, but we're talking about Threaded, which you founded, and we're hanging out in Kauai. I want every story we have to start with.
This way. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're in a hot tub, and then we just say a we're in a hot tub in Ohio, which doesn't. Okay.
No, nobody wants to. I guess nobody wants to be in Ohio. Period. Yeah.
So we're hanging out, and here's the thing: I started a podcast in 2020 because who didn't?
Why not?
There was a lot of things going on, and it seemed like this seems the natural time to jump into something that's already saturated, and we're all home, and this seems fantastic. So I did, and I just want to be basic. So I was basic. I started a podcast, and I contacted Markus, and I said, "Hey, would you be on my podcast?" And he was like, "Sure." And this is when I first heard about Threaded, Markus, was when we did this podcast in 2020. I don't know the month now. It doesn't matter. It's all the same. And you kind of opened my eyes to this incredible, like, I love that you've had this organization for 700 years or 5.
Yeah.
And
it's interchangeable. 2020 took like hundreds of years off of all of our lives. Like, it just added in. So we might as well just say that. It's 5, but it feels like 700. Okay.
It feels like 700. But you've like legit had this organization for a while. This is not week 1. This isn't like, oh, this is cute, Markus. Like, oh, look at you with your little logo. And this is adorable. No. This is a legit organization. And not only that, you already have like data. You already have like things that you can like sit down and be like, okay, Liv, like here's what we do. Not what I want to do. We're not even there yet. Like, here's what I do. Here's what I've done. Here's what I'm doing. And I'd love to go into that space.
Sure.
Like, what have you done with Threaded? What are you doing with Threaded? Like, start with the past. We'll start from the beginning. Especially this year, we go into 2021 and we're all hopeful. We're like, oh, 2021 is going to be our year. And 2021 is like, oh, hold my beer. That's really cute. 2020 was tough. And Threaded didn't start in 2020. You didn't foresee what was going to be happening in this country, what was going to be happening within race relations. Yeah. You were already on that train. Yeah, you were waiting for the rest of us to get on the train. And so here we are in 2021. And I think a lot of us are taking inventory of saying, I don't know, was this year any better than 2020? Like in all the things. So where are you at with Threaded? Like, how are you feeling? What did you accomplish? You're looking back. You and I are in a hot tub. Nobody's watching. We got cigars and a whiskey.
Get it? I got to find my cigar for sure.
How was your 2021? Like, what was going on, friend?
Hey, it's so right. Like, when 2020 hit, I'm not gonna it was a wild time. And I remember sitting with our team in 2020, like the summer of 2020, like the summer of the racial reckoning, right? And we were recognizing that there's so much opportunity to kind of react in the midst of that summer, and for good reason. And we were like, man, we've been here for a minute. Like, we don't need to react. We need to start really building things so that when people get past the reaction, that they'll have a place to land that will be consistent and kind of really move them along a pathway beyond just a kind of reactional pathway, something in where they can get proactive, right, and get ahead of stuff. So 2021, when we got there, I'm not gonna lie to you, like, we didn't know what was gonna happen. We're just like, we had so many things on the books, like so much stuff that we were trying to do, that we were like, literally the team was looking at me like, are you trying to kill us right now? Are you trying to kill us? But probably the most exciting thing is, like, everybody was looking at the schedule in 2021 and they were like, this is nuts, but they were ready. Like, let's go. You know what I mean? And we had some partnerships that we were starting to build into 2021, that came together that I thought was really exciting. We were putting together, like, we had this great idea. We had this great thought, like, okay, let's make 2021 like the year of like the unity pathway, or really kind of what we would call like this pathway to racial action. It was like, we're gonna do the first part of the year, we're gonna like teach and train people and stuff, and then we're gonna bring together like all these folks across cultures, and we're gonna do this big event in Dallas. Then we're gonna do like small groups going out, and then we're gonna have these small groups like jump into like working in the community. We were like ready, you know what I mean? And we jumped in and just started hustling. And I'm excited. Like, it was a wild ride. Probably the most exciting thing to me is, we've been doing this organization. We call it the organization. We've been doing it like 5 loaves and 2 fish. You know what I mean? Like all this stuff, like we look back at our last couple of years and all this stuff we created and go, man, we have been doing this with a volunteer staff, a completely volunteer. Myself, I was working full-time someplace else, all the other people full-time other places and volunteer. And we thought, man, how are we going to pull this off? And we did a conference this year that brought together like faculty, I will say, and speakers from all over the country that are well known in this space, the Christian space. Like, I remember people were like seeing our lineup and they're like, how did you get so and so?
It's like when you dated a girl and she was your homecoming date, and everyone was like, how did that happen? Right. Like,
the way people responded to the conference is the way people respond to me when they see my wife. They're literally like sitting back going, how in the world did you talk this person into living and being your wife forever? How did you talk these people into coming and being a part of your conference? And
Lisa, blink once if you
you can hear
you in a safe space.
Did he hypnotize you? What was he doing?
So the conference happened? You had a conference in 2021?
In 2021, it was a virtual conference. Listen, Liv,
that's
amazing.
It was
a virtual conference.
That's okay.
It flowed over 21 days. What? It was 12 sessions, like every Monday, Wednesday, Friday and Saturday over 21 days, 12 sessions, 24 to 30 hours of material of people. Actually, what is that? 12 sessions, 2 hours. No, so what is that? 48, I think, hours of like material. We had speakers coming in. Again, we had like Sun Chan Ra, who's like World Vision is using him to lead a cohort of thousands of pastors across the world in diversity and racial reconciliation. Yeah, we had Mark Charles, who ran for president. A lot of people don't know this. He ran for president as an independent. He's on there. We had Brian Loritz, who has one of the foundational people of racial reconciliation work in the church. Like, it was absolute nutso. And these folks came in, gave their material. And if that wasn't enough, Liv, we had the conference. And then after the conference, we were dumb enough to go, hey, you know what we need to do after this conference? We need to do like another 1.5 to 2 hours of an after party with these people. Like, we would literally do the conference
in the hotel lobby. I remember that song.
Yeah. What was the song? The dumb enough to do, like, is that the song we played? Who's dumb enough to do another 2 hours?
Sure.
Yeah. We had a blast, man, and the people.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
It was fun. The after
this was
party,
how you kicked off 2021.
Yeah, it was. Well, we did a big prayer movement in 2021 at the very beginning.
Okay.
We did 28 days of racial lament and prayer, where every morning we got up and for like 30 minutes we lamented something that happened in our racial culture, and then we walked through a formula of lament, confession, forgiveness, and repentance. We did that every morning in February at 8:00 a.m. and people were getting in. Again, it was a call. People getting in all over the country, coming in and praying. And then we did this crazy conference. Then we did that conference for another 21 days. And then, Liv, after that.
No, stop. I'm tired. I need a break. Or whiskey.
Look, okay, everybody was dying. We did 21 days, the conference, the what is it called? The after parties. Yeah. And then we did an event at the McKinney football stadium. This is like a $60 million stadium. We did a get at the stadium that called in churches of different cultures from across the city to come worship, pray together. And we had the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Tony Evans, who is notorious in evangelical space around this conversation race, to come in and be our speaker. And he spoke and gave a ridiculous message for like 40 minutes with no notes. This guy, crazy. And then we did that. And then we pushed a launch after that into small groups. Like, I'm tired now recounting it. I can't even.
2022, we're taking a nap. No, I'm kidding. We don't have time for that. We don't have time for a nap.
No, you got to keep moving.
It's like when you have a baby and then it's there and you're like, oh, I can't just put this on a shelf. I have to keep feeding it.
You got to keep feeding the baby. And the baby wants more.
All the time. And it's like, but I fed you. And you have to change its diaper and you have to put it to sleep and it doesn't go anywhere. And then
it keeps doing it.
It's every day and it's all day. So that's kind of, you gave birth this year, Marcus. You're saying you might have given birth before, but now it's a walking toddler and you're having to put up gates. Like your life has changed. You are now in a different space.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. But here's what's fun, Liv, is we did that. Like nobody was working full time for this ministry to do that.
Really? Wow.
So to me, like when I look back and what really kind of moves me, if you will, is that so many people would give up their time for that kind of work. The team that we have been building and creating. I mean, the conference was basically created and run. I think it was 6 of us. I think 6 people. Yeah, I think 6.
And you'll pull that off for days and days.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
The event that we did was probably, again, there were a lot of different folks, but it was probably about 6 to 8.
Yeah, really like a core group.
After it, core group, and it was a different core group, and 2 organizations coming together, putting their money and time and everything. The collaboration, the work, the people, man. Look, this stuff is hard, Liv. This stuff is hard. And to be able to like get up and look around and see people who say, I'm going to give my time, I'm going to give my energy for no reward that's monetary, right? But it's just there's some kind of other thing that they're being drawn into. Like that just makes you go, I got to keep moving.
That's
right?
powerful.
There's something there, right?
Yeah.
So
That's
so
powerful.
2020, look, and that was the first 3 months of 2021.
You are lying.
No.
No way.
That's just the
You're
first 3 months.
that's just what you did before the summer?
I
Like,
know. Yeah. I mean,
oh
I
my
think I don't
gosh.
even think Jesus had risen from the grave when we
Listen,
got
it
finished.
took him 30 years to pray before he was like, all right, mom, I'll go with you to a wedding. it's like, I think
Yes.
Jesus was an introvert. I think he was like, y'all, I'm going to have to save some energy for y'all because he knew what was coming.
I'm going to be on for 3 years. I need to be ready.
It's like, that's it.
Save up. That's it.
I can only hang with y'all for 3 years.
That's right.
Okay?
And these fools are going to kill me. These fools going to kill me. Hanging out with y'all. Go get me.
I'm going to do some carpentry work. I'm going to make a table before all this. I'm going to just hang out with some fishermen. Like, we skip all of what was he doing for 30 years? And I think he was resting. I think he really was. I think he was just getting it all in. And so you did this in 3 months. That is insane. So then you guys took naps?
Yeah, look.
Y'all just closed up shop. You're like, oh, the race relations is done. We did all the things. I'm guessing that was
Problem
called
solved.
part 1. And now we're going to go into 2021 2.0. Like,
that's it. Yeah.
What did you guys do for an encore? Like, how do you go into the rest of this year? What else did you guys do? Small groups.
Well, I tell you, there was a period of time where I'm not gonna say we took a nap, but we had to step back because
you have to take a breath.
Like I said, all these people, these are folks with jobs, with families, wives, husbands, and they looked at me like, I mean, they mostly love me, but they looked at me like it was about to be a mutiny, right? They weren't answering my call, nothing, right? And I actually what's that?
We need rest. Like, I mean, God said, you know what I mean? Like, hello, took the 7th day to rest. Like, you see Jesus, he takes naps in the Bible.
Gotta get away.
He could just like snap his fingers and do like I Dream a Genie, and he's like, oh, interesting. I'm all rested now. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
So but no, he's like, I'm going to fall asleep. So like, I think that's really beautiful that you look at, and also Marcus, not that you were saying this, and I totally just interrupted you, but like to marinate in what you've done, the fruits of your labors, that's like to look and say, this worked. This didn't work. This needs to work. This, whatever, like just to take a moment and to be like, okay, where are we at? So I don't know if you did that during that time, but
that's exactly what happened. I actually left my job right after that to do this, to try to, because we realized like, man, if we're going to be like, this is what we were able to do with 5 loaves and 2 fish. Imagine what God could do through us if we had folks who were really like concentrating on it. That's a big step, right? Because what'd you say?
I said if we had a bakery and a fishing pole.
Imagine, like we could
imagine what we would do.
But
we could make our own bread.
But that's precisely the thing. Like we were just like, for me, it was like this big. It was a huge step of faith because jumping in, like there's no salary, there's no insurance. There's none of that. It's does this need to be done? Yes. Who's going to do this? And is it important enough that somebody has to take a jump and do it? And my family, we prayed hard and fasted, and God was like, it's time for you to go. And he said to me in the midst of my time, he gave me a Matthew 6 passage. He says, don't worry about what you should eat and what you should drink and what you should wear, for the pagans run after these things and the Heavenly Father knows that you need them. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given unto you. And that passage and a few kind of around that really inspired us as a family to just say, let's just go and do this. And so I left the job. And so what happens is that in me leaving is I sat back and I started looking more closely at the organization and started going, okay, like we've been doing this for 5 years and we haven't had anybody who's just been concentrating specifically. So I started concentrating and I saw, okay, there's some structure things that we need to put in place for the longevity of the organization. And so we started building structure. The team started really helping me to get focused because I'm an idea guy. Like I'm like, hey, you should do this. And
you and I, we'd have a great week together, and then we would be broke and exhausted. But man, it'd be a fun week
for sure. And the team was the same. We're like, Marcus, we're having a great time.
Like, listen,
like, what is the point? Like, what are we pointing at for the next couple of years?
Yeah,
and they were great. And in fact, I'd love to. I don't know if Antoine's in the building anywhere. Get him in because he can probably speak to some of these things as well. Antoine, if you're in, come on in. But we just started really looking back, and the team was going, we need to really focus in on a few things and look structurally. So we had a board that had started, and so we were building that and getting that strong. We have an advisory board. We've had one for a long time. Continue to give and go, what is the role of that? The staff, it's like, okay, who are the official staff folks, and what is everybody doing? And then, like, what are we pushing towards? What's some stuff that we're envisioning going forward that we need to be getting in a space to do? And for about 3 months, like, we just locked in, right? Hey, Antoine, what's going on? He can speak to this.
I just popped in. I'm just going to interrupt. The best line that you guys said so far is that Jesus might have been an introvert. Like, I'm in 100%.
Yeah,
I'm in 100% on that. I'm like, you know what? That does track. It totally tracks. He's like, he turns to the 5,000 and they follow him. He's like, y'all don't really want to be here. Get out. He's like, you don't really want to be here. This ain't what you thought it is. Anyway, I'm sorry.
If I've been Jesus, I would not have wasted 30 years being Jesus.
Is the thing you got is the Jesus.
The thing I got is that Jesus in the very.
Great, Antoine.
I thought it was hilarious. Because
Jesus and I are so different for a few reasons, and that's one of them.
That's one of them.
That may not be the big version, the big thing, but it is a thing.
Yeah, because I would have been like, y'all, I'm coming down on a cloud, and God would have been like, so that's the work. And
for real though.
Like, I would have been like, chariots.
Send the angels before me.
Constantly. I would have been like, what's up? I'm Jesus. And yeah, that's why I wasn't chosen. But anyway, moving on, Antoine. So you guys had quite a year. You came out gangbusters. You were like,
absolutely.
Like, you pulled up your sleeves and you were like, we're not stopping. And we've been doing this work. This wasn't like all of a sudden you guys were sitting around 2020 going, wow, the world has some issues. Let's talk about it and start fixing some things. You were like, we've already been here. Like, we're here.
Right.
Like, this is our Tuesday. This is our everyday. Yeah. We've been working on it. We're not just about complaining and fighting and yelling and whatevering. We're about solution.
Yeah.
Let's create some solutions. We've been doing that. So you come out in 2021 and you start doing all these things. And then you took a moment to say, and now it's changed. Like, again, back to like having a child, not that everybody has children, but the concerns and the needs for an infant are different than for a toddler. You know, you have now a different, you and your spouse or whoever you're raising the child with, you got to sit down and say, yo, we got to have a come to Jesus, because they don't just sit in that little thing anymore, that carrier. They get up and
no, you got to nurture it and build it and
then you got a teenager, and that's a different conversation. And you're like, hold up, we have to go back to the drawing board. So you guys are saying, okay, we're back at the drawing board. We're making some decisions. We're being intentional about where we've been, where we are. Now, where are we going? What does that look like now for 2022, which is really exciting?
Yeah, I think it is exciting.
It is exciting. I think because, to your point, I mean, you're thinking about the child analogy, you've got people who are really like excited and ready to go. And it's so easy for people, again, to kind of get going in a direction, but really they're just wandering. You know what I mean? Like, kids, they're just bouncing around. And so for us, we actually took a stock at 2020, and we were like, there's a lot of things that divided us in the midst of 2020. We need to recognize that, and this is where, like, I don't love talking about this aspect, but in 2020, COVID divided us, the racial reckoning divided us, and the election divided us. Like, we just saw in each one of these cases, like the divide grew and grew and grew. And so, as we were looking, we're like, man, you know what? I don't know if there's another COVID coming. I don't, right? Because we're still in it in many cases.
Well, we just learned about this Omicron, so I guess it's another COVID.
It's never going to end.
That's the next forever. Right, it hadn't gone away. The racial reckoning, I don't know if we're going to get a summer like we had in 2020. We'll probably get other events that are similar, right? But what we do know is that there's another election coming in 3 years, right? So we're not here to tell people who to vote for, how to vote, all that stuff. But we do know that kind of that thing can potentially create an opportunity for people to be divided. So what we're looking at is going, what we need to do? We need to really start to come alongside. There are lots of folks out there who really desire to see people like, come together. They don't want to see the divide grow. So we go, how do we help them? Like, how do we come alongside and help them be the folks who bring people together, right? How do we equip them, train them? How do we educate them? How do we facilitate pathways for them to have good conversations so that they can grow? How do we help them be more confident and have more courage in the conversation, right? And so for us, like, we are like ready to come alongside those folks. We are developing a sort of a phases of growth of something we call like a community weaver. We want folks to be like, we want to train people to be these community weavers, right? We like the terminology because we're threaded. So,
I know. Look how cute y'all are. You're like a bunch of grandmas with some knitting needles.
There's a branding access to it, right? But I think people understand what we're doing. Like, how do you weave the community back together?
You too can be a community weaver. We just have the threading needles and little spools.
Well, I wore this.
That's why we need to share a sweater like that. Something.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
No,
for me, it's
really
going to be a cashmere knit. It'll be a cashmere knit.
I love it. It's really cool though, because that's what good branding does, is that it lets people know what it is you're doing. And so you say community weaver, I knew exactly what that meant. Like I was like, oh yeah,
good, it's working. Good, it's working. It's
good job, everybody. High five.
Yes,
we'll send that clip to all the
everybody else who needs to go. And it makes sense.
Liv got it. I mean, so at least. Got my rule.
Well, we hope
it's so much about just like setting the environment for the issue. There's issues with politics and all that stuff, but again, our concern is not so much like I said, like it's not about you should vote this way or that way. It's about, can we change the environment to be something that's not as toxic as it was? Our focus is how we handle the discourse as believers in such a way that it doesn't divide us, as opposed to sitting trying to make a point about where you should be going and how you should be doing it. Because Christians should be able to lead the way in having difficult discussions, and doing so in a way that is agreeably, that you can walk, maybe not agreeable, but you can walk away and then come back and have another one tomorrow and not feel like, you're going to be in this fist fight. So unfortunately,
you're creating a safe space.
Yeah, we're trying to.
Safe space.
We're trying to create safe space makers, like community weavers, people who create safe spaces, right? So it's not just us, but it's going to be like a whole bunch of safe place makers.
Well, look, it's like you were talking about Jesus, right? Like he recognized he wasn't going to be here, right? So he made people who could kind of go out and do what he had modeled to them from now on, right? And so
there
it is. Yeah. So we, it's an aspect of discipleship that we're entering into, is that how can we disciple people to be the kind of folks who can create these safe spaces wherever they're going? And that's something that is not necessarily a reactionary, but it's a proactive. Because again, once we get to, if there are then situations that happen, that instead of like, hey, we got to go to Thread and see what's going on and how they're going to help us with this, like that there will be people and go, no, I can help you with this because I have been trained. Like I have gone through processes. I have learned and I have grown and grown hopefully through the education we're bringing and the training we're bringing. But at the same time, they themselves continue to grow on their own. Much like you talk about, again, it's not like that I don't want to be in that role of kids all the time. Like, oh, these are our kids.
It's a good analogy.
But yeah, sure.
It's a good analogy because you see something that starts so tiny. I mean, you could do the plant thing, but I mean, who gets excited about a seed? But like,
I mean, there's a lot of
biblical are way more interesting. Yeah, listen, you don't want your 40-year-old knocking on your door saying, hey, Dad, I still can't do anything. And you're like, no, that is not happening here. So, I mean, that's the whole point, right?
You go learn today.
Listen, that's exactly right. That you need to get back in that car or whatever you came in. But no, I mean, it's a good analogy because it works. And God calls us his children. I mean, like, you know what I mean? He's the one that made up the whole thing. And so it's beautiful to watch people grow. And what you're trying to do, I think is so cool, is that you're empowering your community in order for them to grow. That's what a leader does. A leader doesn't come in and bark and yell and, act toxic and abuse with their words. A leader comes in and says, listen, I see you and I want to empower you to do this without me. Yeah. Like that's the whole point of high school. They do not want us there every day. They're like, no, y'all need to leave. Like,
exactly.
Go.
You need to be prepped. We are prepping you to leave.
Yes,
Right.
they're like, listen, this is not so you can stay here, and that's life. That's evolving as people, and so that's what's so beautiful about what you guys do is that you recognize there's going to be some time that we're going to have to teach and learn and listen, but a really good program is one that then you can go, and then you are the ones. Like that's why Jesus. You think the leader of the universe didn't want to sit down and be like, y'all could do this so much better, like. Why did we pick these guys? Like, what meeting did I miss?
We got record of him saying this. Now, what? Yeah. Wait a minute. What was I doing here?
These are our best. I'm supposed to leave.
Forget it. I'm starting over.
Come on. I mean, like, we think we're so important. Like, oh, you can't do things without me. Jesus literally left and knew, you know what? We can do this without me. And I'm going to leave the Holy Spirit, and I'm going to leave my word, and I'm going to leave all these things. And that's what you guys are taking. And you're saying, we hear you. And we're using these tools to then empower our brothers and sisters to continue the work. Because, sorry, Marcus Antoine, you guys aren't going to be here forever. Obviously, I am. But Jesus doesn't want me back. He's like, you can just stay.
You can just be here for a while.
We hear you from here, is what he said.
I need to
we
prep,
got you.
I need to prep for you. Jesus took 30 years to come and prep. He's like, I need a couple millennia to prep like, for you. Liv.
But you guys are going to make it. And so somebody's got to carry this torch, you know? So I'm all for it. I think it's really exciting what is happening, what is going to be happening. I mean, if this is what God could do with two loaves,
5 loaves and 2 fish.
What is it? 5? Listen, I'm not a math person. That's why I married a math guy. If that's what he could do with you guys in 2021, I cannot even imagine what he's going to blow up in the good way with 2022. Marcus is now, you're now here full term. It's like on Shark Tank. The first question they ask at Shark Tank is, so is this your full-time job? And then Mark Cuban checks out, Mr. Wonderful checks out because they're like, no, this is just my part-time. They're like, then you're not serious.
Yeah.
And there's some reality to that. And you're sitting here saying like, I'm here. Yeah. So tell me, 2022,
And you mentioned something earlier that I think is such a key point of the excitement. You talked about Jesus going, I leave, but I'm leaving the Spirit to go and work for you, right? Mm-hmm. For us, like this work is not something that we're actually creating, but it's something that we're proclaiming has already been done, right? The idea of people in the church, particularly, coming together across cultures in very loving, just, relational ways is not something we're creating. God gave us the vision of that. Like it's already been done, right? Revelation 7:9 shows that this exists, right? From the beginning of creation, God has said, I am going to create a people who are going to be a blessing to the nations. And then Jesus comes and goes, hey, go make disciples of all nations. Ephesians 2 says he broke down the wall between the two major ethnic groups of the world, Jews and Gentiles, broke down the wall of hostility. And then in Revelation, we see that all these tribes and tongues that God was pushing toward and having, they actually do come together, and they are in the throne room of God, worshiping God together, proclaiming God as their Savior and Lord. So what we're doing is trying.
Can be done.
It's already do It's just trying to get the church on board with what's already being done.
Do what
it's already been set for you to do. And the Holy Spirit is actually trying this whole thing about, can we ever get together? Are we going to be divided? Are we going to do this? Like the work or the frustration or the pessimism, like, I don't know if this is ever going to happen. No, the Holy Spirit is about it, already done it. And so when we choose to move that direction, we have the power of the Holy Spirit behind us to do it. So this work of threaded actually should not be this hard.
It shouldn't be. That's what all that to say what you said, which is what you and I talk about all year. Like, why is this hard? It should not be this hard. I like to use a picture of caterpillar and butterfly. Before Jesus, caterpillar, after Jesus, butterfly. And we spend our time trying to tell butterflies that you can fly.
Yes.
And those butterflies still think they're caterpillars. And it is a ridiculous picture to see a butterfly trying to be and
wiggling
acting
on the
like
ground.
Wiggling on the ground, not using the wings
flying.
that it was transformed into. And so as
awesome.
believers, it's like, man, there's people like, hey man, you do have wings now.
Yeah.
Go fly. right?
Yeah.
There's a whole new thing that you can do. And people are like, I don't know about this flying thing. You're like,
it's like
we
Dorothy.
It's
like
we
Dorothy.
were
She had the
before.
shoes in the Wizard
She
of Oz.
could go home
she
at
had
any
them the
time.
whole time.
Yeah.
She could have done it anytime she wanted. And you guys, what I'm hearing is
we like to think about the Wiz, not the Wizard of Oz.
She's the Wiz.
Love the Wiz.
We want to get everybody in. We want to make sure everybody feels comfortable in the space.
I'm in. I am all for Diana Ross.
Some oil.
Anytime. Michael Jackson, that was peak for me. Okay, anyway, so
move on down the road.
I'm so here with this.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So,
we're done. That's 3 songs out of it.
Dorothy, no matter what version she's in.
Thank you.
She had it the whole time, but it's a beautiful point of what you're saying, Antoine. Is like, guys, it's already there. Like, stop, lean in. It's more like lean in, don't fight.
Yep.
Just, it's already happening. And so you got to decide, are you in? Like, are you in these shoes with us? Or you know what I mean? Because you already have it. You can fly.
You got it. You got the gifts.
I love that. I absolutely love that. That's fantastic.
Yeah. And when we do what we're supposed to do, our job as the church is to prep, in many ways, is to be a dress rehearsal for to be a dress rehearsal for what we're going to be experiencing in eternity. We have an opportunity to show the world what heaven really looks like, who God really is in the midst of this conversation. And so when we do that, when we are, we actually work and do the work together, it just helps people see who God really is. It makes God's name famous in the world, which is also what we're here to do. Right. So that's what we do. Right. And so, even today, like it's, we're doing this thing and there's thinking about 2022, obviously it's Giving Tuesday. And so there's all people out there go, oh, you're doing it for the Giving Tuesday. It's like, no, we do want people to know.
This is every day.
Giving Tuesday. We want that, right? Because we are 5 loaves and 2 fish, right? But we do this every day. Like we are about this. This is not reactionary. This is exciting. We're moving forward. And I think there's folks, my heart tells me that there's people out there who say, man, I want to do this. Like, I want to get really good at this. I want to be in it. But I don't know what it is, but there's a fear of going forward. There's a fear of getting too invested.
They're scared to show that they don't know. I think people are at this point are scared to ask, because then it says, and that's a vulnerability, right? To go to someone and say, I don't know what to do, or I don't know how to do it, or I don't know where to go. And so I think then people, it's like when somebody dies and people just don't say anything. And it's like, no, please say something, like, please, and something nice, not something dumb, say the person's name, things like that. People are afraid. And listen, I know everyone in this conversation, we believe in the enemy. And we believe in what he does. And it reminds me so much, like the pushback that you guys are getting. It's like when you're on, like when there's a really strong wind and you're trying to walk, like through the wind, and you're just like, oh, and it's not the pretty Beyonce kind of wind, it's like, it's not that wind. She can handle the wind. Like Beyonce and J-Lo can like own the wind. But then there's people like me, like Kesha, and we're like,
hair's all in your face.
It's in your mouth. Your lipsticks kind of moving.
Gaga, we're like, what's going on? Yeah, it's like a bad romance. So, we're not able to do it. But when you turn around, what is that wind going to do?
Yeah.
It's going to push and move with you. Yeah. And I think that that's what you're saying. Like, this is everyday Tuesday for you guys. This isn't just Giving Tuesday. You've been working many, many Tuesdays. This is
sure.
Another day.
Yeah. And there's a whole
turn around with us,
And there's a whole group of people out there who's made some really tough decisions about like their church and their life. Like there's people who are like you're saying on the front end of that, it's like, man, I'm not sure how to step into this. I feel like I should. There's other people who's absolutely stepped into it, and to the degree that they've made really hard decisions about life, about their church communities, about where they're going to attend church, if they're going to attend church, as they're struggling with all of that. And they're in this nomadic space, and you feel really isolated and alone in all of that. And I mean, we could repeatedly come across people who are just, they're just making tough choices around this conversation, and doing so, what I would say, in a heartbroken state. Like, it's the picture is that you've been engaged maybe, and suddenly the wedding date has been set, and you just, all this hope and anticipation, this beautiful idea of what is and what you're a part of, and suddenly the person you're engaged to turns out to be not a trustworthy person, or in some way reveals that this is not quite what you hoped and thought it was. And so you have to make a really hard decision by, in this engagement, but it's heartbreaking. It's like ripping yourself off of something. And there's so many people who are, this whole area has created this kind of heartbreak, this kind of rip away that just is open and raw, and it and can lead to this sort of isolated, I don't really know what to do. Am I thinking about this right? Am I the only one that sees this? That kind of thing. And we want to, there's more. If you're listening and that's you, there's more people like that than you realize. And it's many times it's a good thought thing that you're doing. And we want to again, come alongside you and bring others alongside you.
Balm.
Yeah, because there's a good, you don't have to do that by yourself. You don't have to walk through that stuff by yourself.
You're not alone. That is a lie of the enemy. You guys, I am so stoked. Like, if you can't tell, I'm so excited. I'm the butterfly crawling on the ground, and I'm like,
it's time to get off the ground.
I'm pumped. I'm like, put me in, coach. So I think this is just fantastic. I am praying for you. I am such a fan of Threaded and everything that's happening. And I just want to thank you both for your time, for your dedication, for your prayer, for everything that you're doing, and for creating this space, and that you have been doing it. So I pray that Giving Tuesday will be ridiculous, but that every Tuesday is ridiculous. I hope that you guys get blessed beyond measure. So thanks for hanging out with me and telling me all the things. So what can people do? How can people, what do you want them to do next? What is their plan of action? Where do you want them to go?
This is usually your spot.
Oh, okay. All right. I was waiting. I was like, is this going to be? Well, so it happens to be Giving Tuesday. And so you're going to hear more from us. If you've already connected with us in some way, if you got your email, then you'll see some emails that come through. We do have an initiative where we're trying to look for our first or our next 50 monthly donors. And so if that's something that, hey, and it doesn't matter, whatever makes sense for you, but the monthly donor is really key for us, because like we talked about in last year, the monthly donor allows us to look at the entire year and make strategic plans, knowing what's coming and what isn't, versus the one-time gifts, which are great as well. But the one-times are harder to plan around, to create strategy around. So when people come in with a monthly gift, it allows us to look at what we can expect, and then we like, okay, we expect to have this, therefore we can do these things to make these really major impacts. And so we're looking for the most important thing, even more than a dollar amount for this day, is 50 new people who would come along and say, for the next 12 months, I'm willing to give this much every month to the work you guys are doing. To bring gospel influence to racial conflict. And so that's what we'd like you to consider. And you'll hear more about that throughout the day. We'll have some other people talking about Threaded, and you'll hear how much God has been doing in the organization. But it's 2 fish and 5 loaves, like you said, and even your 2 fish, can help. And so however much you have to help contribute, it would be fantastic as we pursue getting full-time staff and going into this next incredible season where we have some national opportunities that we really want to be able to run at. So the work is not done yet. There's some really great things that are in play for the next 12 months that, man, we want to be able to say yes to. So not imagination. These are things that are already kind of in the motion. Yeah. So if you imagine, we're not standing still. So
I love
you guys come along part of that. You'll be part of that story. And there's one other thing. I wasn't going to talk about it, but there's a big thing. So we're established something called the Founders Club, which the Founders Club is this deal where we're like, hey, if you're a person who you want to give in a big way, right? You're looking for some way to unload a lot of cash to something that you really care a lot about, right?
Where are these people? Is there
where
a
are they, right? Yeah. Where are they? We're going to put a club where they can all find and know each other. But we're calling it the Founders Club. And really what it is for the first few years of our organization, anyone who gives $5,000 or more in a 12-month period become a part of the Founders Club, and there's things that will be associated with that. But we want to really acknowledge those gifts, those really special gifts, because those bigger gifts really do obviously allow us to settle in on things and make these choices that we want to make. And it's building a financial foundation for us to make choices and to go forward. So if you're someone who's in that space, you have about $5,000 or more that you're like, I'd like to donate it to something that matters. This is a great place for you to donate that. And we'd like to grab you and recognize you and put your name on our website if you're interested in that, and some other really cool ideas we have for that Founders Club deal. So if you were interested in that, then set that up, and we're happy to do that. You can do it all at wearethreaded.org/give is where you can set.
And you know where the money's going. You hear that a lot. I don't know where the money's going. Look, here's where it's going. These two incredible men, this is where it's going. And it's going to stay with all the work that they're doing. Marcus isn't going to go. That's not how he got to Kauai, everybody. Okay. So these are good, ethical men that are doing wonderful things. And I love that. And I think that's important to say, because listen, people are like, whatever. No, you know where it is. This is where it is. And this is where it's staying. And look at the work that you've done. And the incredible work that's to come is just even more exciting. Like, if God can do what he did in 2021, stop. I can't even think. 2022, I know you guys have some big, awesome things on the horizon, and we're going to get you there. Absolutely. That's what we're called to do. So you guys are fantastic. There it is. wearethreaded.org/give. And here's what's also great. If you're listening to this after Giving Tuesday, like I said, it doesn't matter. This is what they do every Tuesday. So believe me, they're not going to say, no, we don't want your money. It's not Giving Tuesday. It's January 2029. Nope, we'll take it. Like,
we're good.
It's okay.
We still need it.
You didn't miss anything. Okay, everybody? You didn't miss anything. Give whenever, and be generous in your giving. Be generous, make it count. Okay, so you guys, I'm gonna have to let you go. I know that your lives want you back, and and all the things, but this has been fantastic.
Well, thank you so much, Liv, for coming through and hanging out with us. I love it. I love it.
Anytime.
I love everything. Yeah. All right, everybody. We'll see y'all. Bye.
Bye, y'all.